Okay, so this is our lean day 2 masterclass, a restorative flow, beginning on our backs or lying supine in opening relaxation. Taking a minute here to get any final fidgets out, maybe turning the head side to side or windshield wiping the legs. And we might be more comfortable rather than flat on our backs. You may like to bend the knees. We can also take the hands behind the head with the elbows open wide. And let's come into our 3-part breath. Relaxing the muscles of the face, shoulders, chest, ribs, belly, and back. Imagining that with every breath in, we're filling our lungs in the same way we might fill a glass of water. The bottom fills first, feeling movements of the belly. Then we fill further, feeling movements of the ribs. And then finally, filling all the way to the top, feeling movements of the chest. With our exhale, simply releasing, letting go. And let's see if we can find that balance between consciously breathing on purpose, exerting some effort to get a full deep breath, but not working so hard so that there is a sense of ease and relaxation. And I invite us all to see in the middle of our minds a tiny ball of golden light. And we watch this ball of golden light expanding, growing larger and larger, until it covers our entire inner visioning. And we can see this golden light as our ability to change, transform, and to envision or picture a positive future. Expressing gratitude for our starting point here today. But also inviting in, getting ready to receive the good that is yet to come. And you may have an intention that you would like to set for our time together. Remembering, of course, that we can always modify any of our movements or various techniques to be more in line with our intention each time we come to our yoga mats. And then let's start to turn on our inner fire. So this is often in Pilates referred to as a rib breath, And rather than our belly lock, we can think of it as a belly action. So we might like to take our hands to our abs. Inhaling our regular 3-part breath. And then exhaling, drawing our abdominals towards the floor to push the air out of our lungs. Nice deep full inhale. Exhaling, abs pull in, pushing the air out. We'll keep some of that contraction on the inhale. And then with our exhale, drawing in more firmly. So if we want to think of it as percentages, when we inhale, maybe we're contracting our abs only 20%. And then as we exhale, we're bringing it up to 60. So we always have some kind of dynamic tension and core control, core stability, but there is a flow to it. We can add on inhaling, feeling our ribs expand front, side, and back. Exhaling, drawing belly in and pulling up to the pelvic floor. So you may know this as a Kegel exercise. It's more trendy now, I think, to call it the pelvic core. This is the foundation for all of our abdominal strength. Inhale, ribs expand. Exhale, abs pull in, pulling up through our pelvic core muscles. I like to picture our core as a pyramid. Our pelvic floor is that strong, steady base of the pyramid. And then we layer on top of that our inner abdominal muscles, our transverse abdominis, and then our obliques. And then that ripply eggshell is actually just a tiny peak of the pyramid. It looks fancy, but it's not the deeper inner core strength. Let's do a couple more breaths like this, harnessing our power from the inside out. Knowing that this action of pulling in and up is massaging our internal organs, already helping us with our digestion. We'll sort of hang on to this breath. So we're gonna keep that firmness, the containment of our abdominals, but we will get moving. Let's go ahead and draw knees to chest. We can give ourselves a big hug. Might like to rock side to side or roll front and back. And then from knees to chest, let's go to a single leg to chest. So we can hold behind one thigh, extending the opposite leg out, and let's let it rest on the floor for a moment. We can even press down through the heel that's on the floor. And then our other leg, we can point or flex, but let's avoid the flop. So do something with the feet. As we draw belly into thigh, thigh to belly, we are stimulating digestion once more. Let's draw both knees to chest. And we're switching sides, drawing one leg in, the opposite leg is resting on the mat, and we can press down through the extended leg for a little more stability. Using the strength in our upper body to pull our thigh in. Pressing thigh to belly, feeling contact belly to thigh. We're still breathing, but that pressure from the outside in, helping to stimulate digestion. Let's go a couple more times each way. One leg in, opposite leg out. Might like to circle the ankles to warm up the joint. And switching. Noticing our core here. Let's switch. And then we can add some strength to it if we like. So quicker switches, warming up the abs. Might help to breathe out as the leg starts to come in. Exhaling with exertion. So we inhale to reach and then exhale to draw in. Choosing what you like. If we want more strength, we're hovering the leg. If we want more stretch, more digestion, we're drawing thigh to belly. Yogi's choice. We'll go a few more here, knowing that rest is always an option. Noticing how we're feeling through our hip flexors, our glutes, our core. And then we'll all draw knees to chest. Let's go ahead and release the legs. And we'll come into a bridge flow here. We might like to walk our shoulder blades under our backs to feel wider across the collarbones. We might like to do a little bit of a chin tuck. The manual suggests stimulating thyroid, tucking the chin. Let's press the backs of the arms down into the mat. Let's give our little toes a wiggle and then really dig our heels into the mat, resting our toes back down. We have a strong, steady base to lift from. Inhaling hips to sky, lengthening through the front of the body, and exhaling to lower. Our basic bridge flow. Moving at our own perfect pace. So you may feel that you get better muscular engagement, feels better for your joints by going more quickly or by going more slowly. Sometimes it can be hard for our muscles to kick in if we're not going the right speed for us today. We can add on, hips up, arms down. And as we release our hips down, we reach the arms up, working our overhead range of motion. Let's pause at the top of the next one, creating length across the collarbones, length down the front of the body. And we might actually like to grab the outer edges of the mat and pull the hands away from one another for a gentle chest expansion. Well, it's an active chest expansion. It's just not the deepest range of motion. Let's hold 3, 2, 1. We're releasing down. And yogi's choice, we might like to do knees to chest, maybe windshield wipe the legs, or take a long stretch, listening to our own inner teacher. And then let's take the next minute or so to make our way into child's pose. So we can roll to one side, use the strength in the upper body to press up. Sitting back, hips to heels, and then extending arms forward in child's. If we do have a block handy, we could put it underneath the forehead. And rather than having full extension of the arms, we might actually want to bend the arms, coming onto our forearms. For a less intense child's pose. So sometimes it can be really nice for the body. We're not always working to our furthest limits, but we're coming back slightly. If we are always taking everything to our fullest range of motion, we still have tension in the muscle. The muscle is still pulled taut. Whereas if we can bend our joints more often, we can find greater release and relaxation in our muscles. This is our 7 principles of alignment. We are shortening the lever, or softening knees, softening elbows. Well, let's take a deep breath into the back of the body here, noticing the space that we've created. And if our forehead is touching something, the block or the floor, we can be turning the head side to side. If you do notice your head is just sort of hanging in space, then we might want to stack fists under forehead. Somebody once told me your nervous system is happier if we don't have body parts kind of dangling, if they can come to rest on something. So if we want this sense of safety, our happy root chakra, let's let that forehead rest down on something. We'll take one more breath here. And let's come up onto all fours. We'll wake up our spines. So again, the same idea of not working to our maximum range of motion. It is a flowing experience in the body. We're starfishing our hands, pressing our body weight into our knuckles and our fingerprints. We can press the tops of the feet down. Let's find mobility and flow, lubricating the joints of our spine. We can inhale to prepare. Exhale, we're pressing the mat away, pulling the belly in, coming into cat. On our inhale, we are lengthening the belly, strong through the back muscles, coming into cow. So we can add this Uddiyana action that we've been working with every time we come into cat. And as we reach into cow, still holding that containment of the abs. We're not flopping the belly out. We have maybe 20% of our maximum abdominal strength here. We'll go once more each way. Keeping our shoulder blades released down away from our ears, neck is long. Let's pause for a moment in cow, lengthening through the belly, drawing shoulder blades towards our back pockets, wide across collarbones, shining our hearts forward. And then releasing to neutral, we'll do a lateral flexion or a side cat here. So again, careful we're not dumping into our elbows. We can do a little bend. That'll actually help the muscles around the elbow kick in to support the joint. If we're thinking yoga lean, this is especially important if we have extra body weight on our elbows. We'll take a look over one shoulder, doesn't matter which, side bending. Coming back through center, and let's take a look over the other shoulder, side bending. So lateral flexion of the spine, might like to inhale center, and then exhale, squeezing the side of our abs that is shortening. Of course, we're going at our own perfect pace. We can imagine here that we have a tail. We're wagging our tail to one side and then the other. As we come center, can we take a deep breath into the ribs? Checking in with our Uddiyana, our belly strength, our inner power center. All right, if you remember which side you started on, finishing on the opposite side. And then yogi's choice, we can rest back into child's again to give ourselves a little breather, or we may prefer downward dog at this point, inviting a little movement. Okay, we have one more movement of the spine, rotation. So from all fours, again, let's spread those fingers wide, pressing our body weight, not just into the heel of the hand, but the whole length of the hand, right out through the knuckles and fingertips. And I'm gonna show you with my left arm so I can face you to start. We're gonna come into an open rotation with our inhale, and then thread the needle, close the rotation on our exhale. And that's our flow. We inhale to open, and we exhale to close. Looks good. We might like to drag our arm across the floor for some added tension and resistance. So as we thread the needle, coming out of it, we pull the arm along the mat or the floor. We can add a little extra to it. And then the next time we're in the open position, let's pause and hold there. Again, wide across our collarbones, finding our hearts out, pressing down, reaching up. We are ready for the other side. Coming back through center, softening elbows, pressing into all parts of the hands. We inhale to open, and we exhale to close. Adding that arm drag if we like. And yes, you may notice a big difference one side to the other. So if you tend to reach behind the passenger seat to check your blind spot and really crank yourself into a big twist, yeah, you might have more range of motion looking over your right shoulder. And that's okay. It's neither good nor bad. It's just an observation to make. I think sometimes in yoga, we have the search for perfect symmetry, and it's not really possible, and it is definitely not the most important thing in the world. We'll always have some asymmetry in the body. Okay, the next time we're open, let's stay open. Noticing the sense of openness if we're feeling free or safe, or maybe we're feeling vulnerable being so open. Again, there's no good or bad, no one right way to feel. It is just something to observe. All right, we're coming back through center. Again, yogi's choice, child's or downward facing dog. Welcoming in any movements, listening to our inner teacher. We're gonna come into a lunge flow here. So let's come into a kneeling lunge with the right foot in front. And again, we might like the block. We don't have to have the block, but for steadiness and balance, might be helpful. So here's what we're gonna do. This is our basic flow. We're gonna lunge forward and back into a hamstring stretch. So if we like the block, we could take it in either hand, helping us with our balance. If we don't have a block, or it's not quite the right height, not stable enough, we could always bring hands to thighs. Reaching down for the block changes the angle of our torso, right? So you might feel like you're slouching in an effort to get down there. For a taller feeling, we could always bring hands to heart. So please don't let me overwhelm you with options. We'll flow front and back. Let's find a way to do this that feels pretty good, or at least beneficial in some way. You could be doing the same thing as me or something different. The intention behind this is to give us some opening through the front of the back hip, the left hip flexor, and the back of the right leg, our right hamstring. We're also working our balance a bit here, right? And we're getting a mind-body connection. Maybe we're matching breath to movement here. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. Making little tweaks as we go. Let's pause for a moment in this lunge position, and rather than being really splatted out, let's pull it into a strong lunge, firmly pressing down through our front foot, imagining we're growing taller through the crown of the head. And as we reach fingertips up, we're drawing shoulder blades down and back. Finding steadiness in body, encouraging steadiness in breath and mind. As we move to switch sides, again, yogi's choice, we might like to step into child's or downward facing dog. And this time we know what's coming, right? We're taking our left foot in front. Might be tough to get it up to the top of the mat, right? We might want to bring it around, out to the side, or pick it up and help move it forward. A lot of yoga is easier if you have long arms. It just gives us more space to swing the leg through underneath. Again, it's not good or bad, it's just something to notice. We have our block if we want it, and you know what's coming, front and back. Just due to the nature of walking and movement, we're always gonna have a little asymmetry one side of the pelvis to the other. So you may notice the hamstring on this side is really different than the other. And the hip flexor on this side is really different than the other. So let's treat what we find. If we're feeling really tight in the hamstring, we could spend a bit more time there, more energy and focus. If we're feeling tight in our hip flexor stretch, we could spend more time there. We're ready to come into our solid balanced lunge, firmly planting that front foot, kicking our muscles in, growing up through core. Imagining we can grow taller. Maybe imagining that our arms are stretching in two directions, growing longer, but also plugging in more deeply to the torso. Here's a change. We're going to make our way to standing. So as we take our hands down, we can move our block off to the side. And we're going to make our way into forward fold. Let's pause for a moment in forward fold. Again, it might take a moment for that pesky back foot to come in. We can be patient with ourselves. We can bend our knees deeply here, resting belly on thighs, feeling the body with the body. Let's check in with our belly. How are we feeling in our guts? Both as a metaphor, emotionally, how are we doing? And also literally, how is our digestion? Maybe we're noticing movements of digestion after pressing belly to thighs. And we can invite a little sway here, bending one knee at a time. Let's start to walk up our thighs. Coming up halfway might be nice to help equalize our blood pressure so we don't get a head rush. Let's use the strength in our glutes and our backs to come up all the way. And once we get there, we'll circle sweep a few times through, resetting. Noticing the range of motion in our shoulders. Inhaling up and exhaling down. For a more optimistic feeling, we can take our eyes to follow our hands. Let's bring hands to heart center. And we'll move through flight of the bird. So if we're not there already, we can start at the top of our mats. And it's technically an alternating lunge back. If we were in boot camp class, it'd be called alternating lunge, but it's yoga, so it's flight of the bird. We'll take a short step back to warrior one. And then we step to the top of the mat, we take it to the other side. I will keep adding on options. For now, let's start with this, alternating one step back at a time. Careful that our body weight isn't flying back, but staying forward more like we're action ready, not flopping back. So resist the momentum. Our leg moves back, but our body and our core center stays stable. Let's add our arms. Opening to cactus, we inhale back, we exhale to center. Exactly. If you've done flight of the bird a million times, you might have a favorite variation. We might be warming up a deeper range of motion in our warrior one, or maybe elbows and hands really coming on back, strong through our upper back. We might like to hold a giant beach ball overhead. And let's feel that lightness of a beach ball wherever we're putting our hands. Imagining something light as air, bright and cheerful. Again, we can lift our gaze for a more optimistic feeling. Good. Inhaling back, exhaling forward. And we might actually be more comfortable in a lunge than a warrior one with the heel lifted. As always, yogi's choice. We are breathing, feeling, listening to our bodies and responding appropriately. Let's notice here if we are in some way experiencing competition, judgment, or expectation, and see if we can be letting go of it, acknowledging and then releasing. Coming back to our bodies in the present moment. I've given us a lot of options. Feel free to move through them. Maybe reaching overhead, making it bigger and bolder as we warm up. Although if we're noticing like a really slumpy energy, it might be counterintuitive. Moving more perks up our energy. If you're feeling like moving more is just depleting your energy, let's see if we can move in a more nourishing way. We can be slow and gentle, nurturing our need to move and honoring our need for sweetness, gentleness, and eventually stillness. Let's go once more each way. And then we'll meet at the top of the mat in mountain. We might like to take hand to heart or belly, checking in once more with how we're feeling. Can we soften our knees, relax the weight of the world from our shoulders? If our eyes are closed, we'll open them. We'll do a very brief warrior series. Might like to start with hands on hips or even hands on core, like fingertips to our third chakra, to be more aware of our strength and stability. And again, so I can face you, let's sit back with the left foot. I know we usually lead with the right, but for the sake of balance, let's step back left. And then we're opening to the side in warrior two. So again, if we're thinking lean and maybe working with larger bodies, similar to our prenatal and our seniors class, we don't have to take a giant step back. We can do a much smaller, almost more like a Tai Chi stance. And now we have Yochi or yoga plus Tai Chi. We could be much smaller in our stance and listening to our bodies. If you want to do a nice big warrior two, that's up to you. Let's come back to this idea of softening our joints. Rather than having palms down, this might be tough on our elbows. We can actually flip palms up and do more of an elbow bend. This might be comfortable for shoulders. Might be more comfortable for elbows. And then noticing our wrists and how they're doing. We'll add a lateral flexion here. So if our left foot is back, we'll take our right hand to the sky, opening to the right side of the ribs. Depending on our balance, we might want to keep the head stable, or we can actually turn and look towards our straight leg. Let's take one more breath in the space we've created, down the side of the ribs. We'll come back through warrior two. We can bring our hands to heart. We're going to inch our foot in to take it to the top. Let's see if we can hover for a moment in warrior three. And then we're stepping into mountain to reset. Let's take a circle sweep, inhaling up, exhaling down. Let's imagine we can start fresh from this moment. That sequence we just did, we've never seen it before. And we'll do it on this side with new eyes. So we'll go ahead and this time we'll step back right and then open into warrior two. And I'm going to switch again so I can face you. So we have the opposite foot back. We're turning, squaring hips and shoulders to the long edge of the mat. And often we have this alignment of hand over foot, hand over foot. But if we're more comfortable, we can scooch in narrower. Helps us with balance. If we have issues of hypermobility in the pelvis, sometimes it's nicer to come in. If it's more comfortable for our shoulders and our elbows, we can flip palms forward or up, but let's keep that soft bend in the elbow. Might want to roll those shoulders down and back. Strong and stable, but we can also flow. Left hand to the sky, opening the left side of the ribs. If we're okay with our balance, we can turn our nose to point towards our straight leg. Let's take one more breath here. Unwinding back to warrior two. We're going to turn ourselves towards the short edge of the mat. Let's balance through warrior three as we come to the top. Might just be a little balance. We barely lift the foot or even leave the toe tapped, but we're challenging that core center to pull us into stability. We're stepping into mountain, and then we can circle switch to release. Awesome. Let's take the feet wide on the mat. So I don't know what makes the most sense for you. Again, I'm going to turn and face you. We're going to do a wide-legged forward fold. Let's start with those bent knees. So if we turn our toes forward and bend our knees, it helps to bring the floor closer. We do have our block that we might like in front of us, but let's look for that sense of sweetness, of ease. If we're bending our knees and using a block, the floor comes closer to us, right? Whereas if we were locking out and trying so hard to reach the floor, we don't have that same sense of steadiness and ease. And then of course, once we get down there, we could straighten the knees a little bit more. Maybe we're taking starfish hands to the earth. But starting from that point of a bent leg so that we can have a hip hinge and a neutral spine, we have a strong foundation to move into. Another nice variation of a wide-legged forward fold is if we take the hands forward for a wide-legged downward dog. So down dog can put a lot of weight on our wrists and upper body, right? And if we're in this wide-legged bent knee position, reaching the arms forward into a down dog shape, much less weight on the hands. We're still pressing our body weight into our knuckles and fingertips. But you might notice there's a lot more space around the neck and shoulders, a lot less intensity to the upper body strength. I can shift the weight front and back. And then let's start to make our way out of the pose. So we'll come out of it the same way we came into it, rewinding, bending the knees. We can use our block, coming up part way, using the strength in the back line of the body. Ooh, coming up all the way. We'll walk our feet back into neutral. And let's do our final standing pose. Just a simple tree, bringing our heart rate down before we take it to the floor. Let's find our good side. Whichever side feels like, okay, today, tree is gonna be good on this side. I'm going for this foot today. And we know our options if we've done yoga before, right? Toes down, foot up, or foot all the way up. Finding a place where we feel appropriately challenged. We can take fingertips to our core, knowing that we are pulling up and in. We can take fingertips to our shoulders, knowing that we are releasing shoulder blades down and back. And if we want to grow branches, we could be a cactus. We could be a weeping willow. Or yes, it could be a much more typical tree pose. Finding a moment of success, so resetting if we need to, but we remember the last thing that we've done, right? So let the body remember success, and when you're ready, come on out. We've got our second best side. Here we go. One foot out, appropriate challenge of the foot near the leg. We can press leg into foot, foot into leg, drawing up and in, our inner power from our core center, right across our collarbones. We could even be in mountain pose hands here if we like that. And if we want branches, whatever kind of branches you feel best express yourself. Finding that moment of success. We want to end on a positive note, right? So if we fall out and give up, the brain and body remember, fall out, give up. Whereas if we remember success, next time through, we've laid the blueprint. Let's circle sweep whenever we're ready and we get there. Gonna make our way to the floor. Let's start with chest extension. So we'll go with this wide collarbone position we've been working in. And then we can reach hands in behind. For more strength and chest expansion, we can stay open. For more stretch, we can close. And we might like to take our feet wider than we normally go to add our chest expansion to our forward fold. Same as we did earlier. We can rest our belly on our thighs, feeling the body with the body. And let's hold some strength in the upper body. We're still engaging, punching shoulder blades down the back, punching our hands down towards the tailbone. If we love this, we can stay here. We can also release the arms. Might want to give the head a gentle shake. And then nodding the head yes. If we remember our affirmation from yesterday, we can repeat it to ourselves here while we nod, or simply repeating our intention to ourselves. And honestly, even just saying the word yes in your mind is good for the brain. There's a whole book on it. It's called the Yes Brain. All right, we are stepping back to child or down dog. And then let's lower all the way down onto our bellies. We'll do a variation of bow. Technically, this is a digestive pose because we're putting our body weight on our stomachs. There are a lot of ambitious ways of doing bow. I'm gonna go for more of a crowd pleaser. We'll do half bow. So if you like to do both legs together, just make sure that you're flexing your feet and ideally reaching straight back to grab the ankles, not the tops of the feet. If we're doing half bow, we can take the right arm in front, propping ourselves up. And that same big reach that we just did in our standing chest expansion, let's do that here. It gets our t-shirt out of our underarm and sort of our flesh away from itself. Aiming for the ankle, aiming to be kicking foot away so that we are pressing our ankle into our hand, but then our upper body's kind of resisting and pulling in the opposite direction. If we can't make it, we can fake it. We're still getting that range of motion. Maybe you're holding your pant leg. We're just sort of reaching towards that direction. And if for whatever reason, it's sort of late now, if for whatever reason we're not lying on our bellies today, we could do a side lying bow. Same idea, we could do a standing quad stretch. We lose that benefit of digestion that we get from pressing our body weight onto the belly, but we don't always want to press our body weight on the belly, right? If we have reflux or indigestion, whatever it might be. All right, let's come back through. We'll release. Let's rest our forehead, getting a little forehead massage, turning the head side to side. And we're ready either for our second bow or for our second side. Propping the left arm up, pressing the left foot down. Nice big reach out, width across the collarbones. Kicking away and then resisting that kick, staying strong in the upper body. Yes, we could do side lying. Might want to lie side first before we reach for the ankle. or both together. And if we are doing both together, we'll probably rock with the breath. Inhaling, lifting, exhaling, lowering. That's good for digestion too. Even that simple act of a deep breath can help us process and move things along. When it feels like the second side matches the first side, we can rest and lower down. You might like to windshield wipe the legs or take the hips off side to side. And then once more, let's listen to our bodies, noticing how the back is feeling. You might like to press back and do a little cat and cow. I tend to like to just neutralize the spine, so you might want to be in all fours, or you might like to rest in child's. Noticing our back, we're pressing up and back. Child's, cat cow, whatever feels good for the back. And before we lie down, we're going to move our block towards the back of the mat so it's closer by. And we will be moving into our more supportive and restorative poses. So if you want a sweater, blanket, whatever that might be, go ahead and get that for yourself. We can hold behind one leg to ease our way back. And from a neutral position, let's start with that Uddiyana action that we were doing. Checking in with our breath here. Inhaling, ribs expand. Exhaling, we're drawing core muscles up and in, lifting through our pelvic floor, pulling our abdominals in. And now let's release that abdominal tension, kind of like a sleeping baby. We'll relax the belly. You might even like to, as I'm doing, giving ourselves a physical reminder, relax the belly, doing a few circles, taking just one hand to the belly, drawing some circles, a little abdominal massage. And then with our next breath in, let's see how effortlessly we can do it. Noticing we drop back into our 3-part breath, filling our lungs from bottom to top, noticing first movements of belly, then ribs, and finally filling all the way up to chest, maybe noticing subtle movements of our collarbones and shoulders. And we know the benefits of breath, right? Benefits of rest and breath are very similar to the benefits of exercise. This is what helps our bodies to digest. And rest has different important benefits to sleep. Let's do one more pose to help us with our digestion. Again, we're relaxing the belly. We'll draw the left leg in, extend the right leg out. We can use the strength in our upper body, pressing thigh to belly. This time through, our abs are relaxed. And then coming into a twist here. So our typical supine twist, we usually drop the left foot, lift the hips and shift them to the left side of the mat, and then draw the left knee across to the right side. We can use our right hand to draw the knee towards the floor and extend the left arm up and away. You may have a different favorite twist, maybe stacking the knees. Sometimes it's an ambitious move to be able to press down and lift the pelvis. So I'll show us another way to get into it on the second side. But for now, let's see how little effort we can put into this pose, giving the work over to gravity. We'll take another breath here. We're ready to make our way back through center. So we can get into our twist the second time through. We could do it the same way, drawing one leg in and shifting the hips. If we're thinking, again, larger bodies, bigger pelvis, more weight to move, instead, we could draw both knees to chest, release our legs, lift the pelvis and shift it to the right. Almost like we're going into bridge, but then we change our mind, we shift the pelvis to the right, and now we're twisting our knees to the left. We can stack the knees, or we can straighten the left leg in line with the mat, finding our own personal variation of a twist. Well, let's make our way back through center, unwinding ourselves, resetting in what's sometimes called neutral position. So we're lying on our back with our knees bent, our feet planted, and we'll come into a variation of sleeping pigeon or figure four. You may remember this from gym class. We cross our right ankle over our left thigh. You may have a more preferred version of pigeon if you want to put your foot behind your head or anything else in your practice. For the sake of our restorative class, we could actually just leave it like this. We don't even have to do anything. But if we are looking for more sensation, we want to sink our teeth into the pose, then of course we can draw in holding the back of the left thigh, or maybe our knee and our ankle. Just careful not to yank on the foot. The same as in bow pose, we keep a flex and we're aiming for our ankle or maybe our heel. And maybe we want to stir the pot. So if our legs are lifted towards us, drawing a circle with the legs. Circular movements can also be very calming for our nervous system. Or swaying movements. So if we have the left foot still planted, we could rock or sway side to side. Test it out, see how it feels. Often the best way to figure out, is this a good version of the pose in a restorative class? Do we feel the body saying yes? Or do we feel the body going, ah? So if I offer a suggestion and you're thinking, I'm not really getting anything out of this, or I'm not sure, what do I do? Let's move through our variations and we're looking for that, yes. Not exactly the same thing that we get from our more energizing classes. Often the mind says, ugh, no, but we get benefit through that tapas, our power to stay the course. But in our restorative classes, we want to feel really nice and easygoing. Okay, we're ready to switch sides. From our neutral position, both feet planted, we're taking ankle over thigh. And then yogi's choice. We can leave it super passive. We might like our arms out to the side, hands behind the head, rock or sway side to side. If we want to do a more typical figure 4, yes, we can draw the legs in, getting the right amount of sensation that you're looking for today. Even if we are in that typical figure 4, we can still draw circles with the legs. When we're ready, we can release. Let's take a breath, notice how we're feeling, listening to our bodies. We might like to release by windshield wiping the legs, giving our legs a big hug, curling into a ball, knees to nose to knees. We might like to open, long stretch. And then when you're ready, we're going to move into a supported bridge pose. So if you've never done supported poses before, you might notice that there isn't a lot of sensation in the pose. You sort of think like, what am I doing here? So we're putting the body into a position, not our fullest range of motion. We're pulling back, supporting our body weight so that our muscles don't have to work to hold us there. And then if we patiently wait, after a minute, we might feel this again, this sense of, So from our neutral position, we'll take our block, lifting our hips into a bridge, and then we're taking the block underneath our hips, so under the pelvis. We're not under our butt cheeks. That's going to make us look like cat pose. And we're not under our low back. That's going to put us into a back bend. But from bridge, we're taking our block directly under our pelvis, under the bones of our sacrum, and we're lowering down. Might need some readjustment. Might like to take our arms alongside our body, feeling more grounded, having palms down. Maybe feeling more open, having palms up. Might like to walk shoulder blades under back and tuck the chin again. And that's it. We let physics do the work, giving our body weight to the earth, to gravity. We simply hang out. Maybe we're scanning the body head to toe, noticing any unnecessary tension that we're holding on to and releasing. Again, channeling that sense of a sleeping baby, or maybe like those little puppies we were talking about, a sleeping puppy. You know, its belly is so relaxed. That's what we're going for. Option for a variation of legs up the wall or waterfall, we could take our legs straight up towards the ceiling. And the way to the block helps us by kind of giving our pelvis a little tip so that we don't have to work as much as if we were flat on the mat. That being said, if this is one of your favorite poses and you like doing it without the block, you could just remove the block and do the same thing. This is a fantastic pose if you are spending a lot of time on your feet, like a hairdresser or a waitress, or whatever, a lot of time on your feet. I get it sometimes when I'm cleaning up around the house, talking about clearing the clutter. We get swelling and water retention in the feet and in the ankles. Maybe you notice that ring from your socks digging in. This is a pretty typical kapha symptom. So even if you are not kapha dosha, you might still be prone to retention. Or after we've been doing a tough workout, right? Blood rushes to the area, rushes to our strong leg muscles. I was on the spin bike yesterday, rushes to our leg muscles, and then might just kind of hang out there. So we can help facilitate the process of recovery after exercise with legs up to the wall. If we don't like our legs straight up, we could be putting them on a couch or a chair instead. Let's spend maybe another minute here in either supported bridge or this variation of legs up. And then as we start to unwind, one final option, even with the block underneath us, we might like to do a nice long stretch. Straightening legs along the mat, reaching arms in the opposite direction. And a moment to reset. So we'll do a little bridge lift to get the block out of the way. And then we might like to reset with either movement or stillness. So we could just land on our mats, or you may really be feeling the need to move something. Both are good. Yogi's choice, listening to our bodies. And then we're going to use our blocks for supported fish. This can be sometimes a tricky one. So let's do our best. We can take a block underneath the upper back. I have a really thin block and a pretty good range of motion in my spine. You may need another block to catch your head. So, and if you've done fish a million times, just get into fish. But we have to sort of estimate and line it up and then ease our way onto the block. So I can feel that it's catching my rib cage. Yes, I sort of have to work to get here. And then if you notice that your head, like you're like Pez candy, your head's really popping off, then we can take a cushion or another block underneath the head. Often, people will like to have a taller block under the head than under the rib cage. So if we like a lot of back bending, yeah, sure. We put the block under the rib cage and we're ready to go. We don't like so much back bending. We could have another block under the head. We can have a bolster. Even if you have a yoga mat, underneath the spine. That's another nice way to do it. Depending on how tall you are, we can fold or roll the mat from the low back upward. So we're not going to put it under the sacrum, underneath the low back of the lumbar spine. We're lower back. We're in a little bit of a fish, a little bit of a back bend. And then maybe from there, we like the block underneath the head. Again, noticing our starting point, staying present, being okay with where we're coming from today. If you've been sitting at a desk for 15 years with the head forward and the spine rounded, just getting into neutral is a huge achievement. If you are a contortionist and you do a ton of back bending, yeah, you're probably going to want a bigger bolster. And then finally, we're settling into stillness. So I'll give us the option to stay here. Fish is a fan favorite. Lots of people can stay here 15, 20 minutes. Some people fall asleep like this. If at any point you are feeling not comfortable or you know you don't like fish, your body's not happy with it, feel free to roll out onto one side, push the proper way, and then lie back on a flat spot. We'll come into our final relaxation here. So let's start with the fist exercise. Go ahead and make a tight fist and try to do a deep, relaxed breath in. So we're squeezing our fists, inhaling, and we're probably noticing that we're a little restricted in our breath. Let's go ahead and relax the hands, opening our palms, and we could have palms up or palms down. And then from there, try to take a deep, relaxed breath in. We're probably noticing a more free flowing of breath, right? So let's aim for that in our bodies and in our minds, releasing any mental fists we may be having, or if we're noticing any gripping in the body. It's important information for us to think about. But for now, let's just attempt to release that, inviting the tension to melt away. And I'll bring us through a rotation of consciousness taken from Yoga Nidra. So like I said, we'll be here a little while. Keep it comfortable. If we become uncomfortable at any point, just coming out of the pose, maybe lying on your side or anything else you like. It's traditional to start a Yoga Nidra with a resolve, a sankalpa. So this can be a positive affirmation. It can be a dream or a wish. It may be, for the purposes of this training, something that sounds like, I am living yoga lean lifestyle. So it's an I statement in the present tense. I am. And then something you wish you had, imagining as though you have it already. I am at peace. I am taking care of my body. Whatever it may be, repeating it to yourself 3 times here, picturing it in vivid detail as though it were already true. And we'll go through the body now, taking our mind from place to place as I name it, Simply letting our attention touch that place. And let's start with the right hand. Noticing the right hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, palm of the hand, back of the hand, lower arm, upper arm, shoulder, underarm, the right hip, thigh, lower leg, the right ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, first toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe. Noticing the entire right side of the body. Drawing the awareness to the left hand thumb, first finger, second finger, third finger, fourth finger, palm of the hand, back of the hand, lower arm, upper arm, shoulder, underarm, left hip, thigh, lower leg, left ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, first toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, and fifth toe. Noticing the entire left side of the body. And now the back of the body. Right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, right buttock, left buttock, the spine, the entire back of the legs, back of the arms, back of the head, top of the head, forehead, the face, the throat. Center of the chest. Navel center. Staying here at the belly. On the inhale, noticing a feeling of lightness in the body. On the exhale, noticing all parts of the body that are touching the surface beneath you. Inhaling, feeling light and lifted. Exhaling, feeling heavy and supported. Let's settle into this flow here. Inhaling lightness, feeling the body lift. Exhaling, noticing all parts of the body that are touching the mat, feeling the body settle. Inhale, lift. Exhale, settle. Inhale, light. Exhale, heavy. Scanning the body head to toe, noticing how we're feeling. You may like to pick a word to describe how you're feeling now. And underneath that, let's see if we can pick another word or maybe several words to describe any other emotions, feelings, or sensations you're aware of, mind, body, and spirit. When you're ready, we can roll to come to lie on the left side of the body. And over the next minute or so, let's press ourselves up to come and finish in a seated position together. Drawing hands to heart center. Again, feeling lightness, crown of the head reaching to the sky, heaviness, lower body pressing into the earth. Thank you so much for joining me here today, and of course, for the whole weekend. From my light to yours, namaste.